Greetings, Sovereign. Peace, Sovereign. Let me know if you can hear me. I see Sister Deidre is in the chat already. So this is some stories today. If you all can hear me, those of you who are here. Um, so it was a trek getting here. No, it wasn't really a trek. It was pretty cool. But I get here and there are uh, lawnmowers. The city is, just cleaning up right now. And so they're everywhere. So I had to walk to find the best spot, right? So you could probably hear me, but you could probably hear me and everything else going on in my background. It's crazy. So when I finally get to the spot, I picked out a spot. I was like, okay, there's one lawnmower far to the far north of the park. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll walk to the southern part. No, not really, because I get midway and I see that there are two lawnmowers going. So this is so crazy. I decided, okay, well, I'm going to walk for the south. Finding my way for the south, there's somebody with a weed whacker, right? So I guess today is the day that everybody attacked the weeds, so to speak. um, so I felt it was fitting, greetings. Let me see who's in the chat. Let me see. Eva Precious, greetings. Thank you for joining. Ima Kuya, give thanks. Manira, thank you so much. Come with your stories too. Come with your stories. Um, there's so many, but and it's funny because someone contacted me this morning about their own herb story. And so I just realized, oh wow, I have to share old herb stories. Because last night I also shared another story about me laying on the floor, my arms feeling like they can't move because of I think it was a kombucha combination that I really I enjoyed it, but let me tell you something. It had my arms feeling like I couldn't move them. Yeah, it just felt like I was almost entranced. But nonetheless, herb stories, old herb stories. And I tricked you because I may not necessarily give you all 420 herb stories, but the herb stories that I wanted to share are herb stories that are related to some of the herb medicines that I've used and sometimes how they've affected me without me realizing it, right? Um, so I'll start with Valerian, right? So remember I spoke a little bit about Valerian on Yom Rishon, on Sunday. And my first experience with Valerian, I decided I had, at that point, I had moved here already to the US and I had already transitioned to a raw diet. So things were tight, everything was good. But for some reason, I don't know if it was the extra stress of studying, because at that time I was attending the Medgar Evers College. And so it may have been, excuse me, it may have been just a little bit of over anxiety and stress and so on. But I was cramping. I was sitting on the floor with a family, and this was a Sunday. We were having fun, but all of a sudden, I couldn't move. My legs felt so heavy, and I could feel the cramps coming on, and I was so scared. I was scared less. You know how they say it, when you're scared. I was scared because I had not gotten to that place or received that amount of pain for a long time. And you know, when you get to a space where you feel like you've overcome your challenges and some of the health issues that you have, and it's no longer a problem. Pain is no longer a problem. And you feel a level of satisfaction and freedom, liberation rather, not necessarily freedom, but liberation. But then you get a dose of it, it comes back a year after or so, you start to worry. And so for me, I went into a space of worry, but also frustration because I knew what that pain came from. So I had Valerian in my little toolkit. I always carry like a little bag with tinctures or something, right? Again, I always think about how whatever I carry with me could assist someone else or could assist me in case of emergency. So I always carry one or two quick herbs that I could use in any situation. So I had valerian on me at that time, and I decided to take some. But the conversation was so sweet amongst the people that I was sharing space with and breaking bread with, and I was studying at the same time. Don't ask me, I was doing all of that at the same time. So I, instead of taking one, what do you call it, the dropper full of valerian, I took three, yes, three. And I'll never forget. All I know, I started to ease into a space where I felt the cramping ease up and I could feel relief, right? I could feel relief from all the pain. And then the pain in my pelvic area is subsided. All right, no problem, fine. But then I stopped feeling my legs completely. Don't say anything. Completely. I could not I did it was there was no sensation. I didn't feel like I had legs. I know I was looking at my legs and I kept paying attention to my body and I kept saying to myself, wait, this could not be the way Valerian works because, you know, the pain is gone, so that's it. I'm tripping. I'm thinking there's something going on with my head. I'm tripping. But when I tried to even move my legs, they wouldn't move. And eventually I just slumped over. I had to drag myself to the wall where there was what do you call it, the radiator, and I had to lean up against the radiator, y'all, so that I had a smile on my face, pretending like nothing was wrong with me, so that I could be part of the conversation. And yeah, I sat there for a long time. Nobody realized it. Nobody knew I was gone. I wasn't asleep, but it was almost as if I was in a different dimension or something. It didn't feel, it just felt like I was having an experience where I could not feel my body, but I was in my body. Um, and that's because Valerian really takes your muscles and relaxes them to the point where you don't even have control sometimes over them. So and that may not be the effect that it has on someone else, but it certainly had that effect on me. So I was sitting there like a bump on a log, doing nothing. And of course, conversation was going. At that, it's not until I came to that I actually realized that everyone in the room actually realized that I was gone. I couldn't even, there were times when they were calling my name and I didn't even realize it. So that's a Valerian story. And to this day, I do have one or two people who were in the room who still remind me of uh, how much of a kick they got out of looking at me slumped in the corner over there. Um, but that's a Valerian story. I have a 420 story for those of you for those of you who are familiar with 420. I remember when before I traveled to this country, to the US, I remember, I'm going to change the names of the places and the people just a little bit. I was in Granville. I'm going to say that. And so there's this chef who is well known. And y'all probably heard the story already. He was well known for his burgers. Now, at that time, being vegan or vegetarian is always considered tightly connected to being Rasta or what's called Rastafarian, or a Rastafarian lifestyle. So he and his entire family, they're all far right, they're all Rast, they have dreads and so on. And not only did he not only was he an excellent chef, but he knew exactly how to taint, so to speak, right? Because I think everybody calls these foods tainted or touched, or when you add 420 to food, it really increases the potency and it extends the high. So we know someone who decided, okay, they'll try this chef's burger. Now, the burger included 420, and it was so good though. This person who bought the burger ended up buying two or three. He ate one and then ate the second one and was eventually admitted to the hospital because he started falling out. Like he didn't know he was tripping. He did not know what was happening to him. He had no clue. Um, I guess the moral of those stories is, do your research, know what herbs are and how they work with your body, because if not, they will make a fool out of you quick, real quick. But yeah, in that case, the brother was admitted to the hospital. They didn't know what was happening with him, but he was clearly having heart palpitations. He was cold sweating. He was just, yeah, it's, yeah. We call it paro when, and a paro is short for paranoid. Um, yeah, paro is short for paranoid because, yeah, when you do 420, you get a little bit paranoid, you get hypersensitive. He was super sensitive. He fell out. There we go. Spill the tea. Yes, I have to spill the tea because, sometimes we delve into things without really knowing, We think, oh, we see someone else, we go, oh, okay, I'm going to do it too. In that case, he should have actually had half a burger, which everyone else knew was the portion that he should have, or a quarter of it, even though it was really good, because it tasted like a regular, you know, really good vegan burger. So, yeah, that's the other story. So it's crazy. Someone told me another story earlier this strong about what was it? Vitex. But if the person's in the chat and they wish to tell their story, they could tell it for themselves. That's fine. So Vitex, I think I've shared Vitex as a great hormonal support for women. But they had their own story. Um, Another story I wanted to share was burdock root. I love y'all always hear me talk about burdock root, you know. Always hear me. By the way, I'm surrounded. I don't know if you all could see the background. All these little yellow dots you see in the back are all that little dandelion flowers. And they're cutting it all down, unfortunately. But that's I kind of like when dandelion just starts blooming in the spring because they're littered everywhere. It just is very pretty. But yeah, it's unfortunate that I can't harvest it. I can't do anything with it. But yeah, the other story is burdock root. Okay, that's funny. I got a note, so there won't be a share. All right, no problem. I'll go on to my burdock story. So, burdock is mineral rich, mineral dense. The very first time I utilized burdock root in its fresh state, I did it. Yeah, I'm a champion when it comes to, okay, this is a new herb. Let's find the fresh version and use it as an alternative in food. So that's what I did. I took that fresh burdock root and I soaked it, I peeled it, and I I decided I was gonna add it to my very famous carrot soup. So if you're interested, this carrot soup is blended carrot, coconut cream, and I add lots of seasonings. So any seasonings that you enjoy, you can add. Lots of garlic, of course. And what do I add? I add some, after I blend it up, I'll add maybe a small tomato in there. And once everything is smooth and creamed down, sometimes I'll add sea moss to it, and then a handful of arugula at the end. This time, when I first started to use the burdock, I decided to chop a piece of the fresh burdock and add it. But I didn't add a few small pieces. No, I decided I was going to add the whole branch, the whole thing, like an arm's length. I peeled everything. I chopped it up. I did minimal peeling because sometimes you peel off the skin and you kind of get rid of a lot of the nutrients. So I soak a lot and scrub, and that helps me to utilize the skin of a lot of fruits and roots and so on. Well, not fruits so much, but roots and other veggies. So back to the story. Um, peace, peace, greetings, 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 greetings. Peace. Emmanuel. Okay, I could just see someone popped in and said greetings. So yes, I decided I was going to put a whole arm length of burdock root inside of the soup. And at that point, I had a very an older empress or older sister friend who was visiting at the time. So we decided, okay, we'll have soup. That's what we're gonna have. It was really good. But let me tell y'all something. It is a good thing we did not plan to go anywhere that day. It was a Saturday at that point. And at that point, I was not observing Sabbath. But at that point, it's interesting. I would always um, be required to stay home on a Sabbath and focus on just reading and things of that nature, or digging in a little bit to maybe even scripture. So I would never, at that point, I wasn't leaving the house. And that was probably for a full year. It was very restrictive in a sense, but it didn't feel like that. Um, yeah, we didn't plan to go anywhere or do anything. Listen, within 15 minutes of having the soup, we were going back and forth to the restroom like we were just swapping out. And we had two bowls each because it was so good, and not two small, dainty bowls, two large bowls of soup. And I couldn't figure out why. No, I couldn't figure out why. That's what you get. That's what you get for not delving into what is the nature of this herb and what does it do? How does it work on your body? Burdock is a diuretic. So all you're gonna know is you're gonna frequent the restroom fast, consistently for a period of probably 2 hours. It was crazy. It was crazy. I will never forget it. And I couldn't figure out what it was until I had some more of the soup the next day and I actually realized it was the soup and pinpointed that it had to be the burdock in soup that had us both, swapping out on our trips to the restroom. So a diuretic causes excessive, I won't say excessive, it causes urination so that it allows the body to actually flush the system and flush the system completely. So it was great. It was a good blood cleanser for us as well too. That day, that whole strong egg, by the way, that whole strong egg. So nobody's gonna share their own herb stories, huh? I got a note from Deidre. Okay, fine, no problem. I hear you. Okay, I see that. Sister Aquia says, I know the feeling. Yeah. So let me see. I have another herb story, but I think I shared this one before too. But it's always hilarious to me. Um, how many of you have cooked with herb before? When I think around 19, 18, 19, I can tell yours. Sister Queen gave me permission to tell hers. Uh, so, so you can tell yours. You want to come on and tell yours? I'll share the link with you. You come on in and tell your story. So, okay, I'll share yours after I share this one. So, I really enjoyed when I was much younger playing with. I like to work with herbs, and so, but in that instance, it was 420. So I decided I was going to make coconut rice for my friend. At that time, we worked at the bank for many years, but I left the bank. I went to Cuba, did some engineering, went back to Grenada, And I can't remember what I was doing at that time. Um, but at that time, I was still, I think I was working in retail or something when I went back. But that day, I had a day off, and she didn't. She decided to come up to where I live, to my home, to have lunch during her lunch break. She barely made it back to work because what I did was I put herb in the coconut rice and I think I made some vegetable stew or something. So I told her about it. She knew and she decided she could handle it. She did eat a little bit, and once she got to the once she got to the bank, she called me and she said she was really her voice was slurred at that time, and she was trying to say to me, "I don't know what you put in it in that rice, but it did something. I don't know what you put in there, but it was bad, Masha. It was bad at that time." She would call me Masha. So she decided whatever she had, because she had some more, and she said she would eat it once she got back to the bank. She did not. She decided to take it home with her. She did. That was a Friday. On the Saturday, I think it was at 4 o'clock, somewhere in the afternoon, she called me and she said to me, "I don't know, but when I came home, I put my rice in the fridge, and when I got up very early this morning, which was Saturday morning, she said the rice and the beans was gone." She lived with her mother at the time. So she said to me, she doesn't know what happened, but she knows that it could have been her mother who ate the rice because when she got up, she found her mother knocked out, and her mother was sleeping practically for the whole day. And when the mother got up, the mother said, "I don't know what happened, but I ate that rice and beans. It was so good, and I fell asleep." So yeah, my story's not that funny, but I thought it was funny at that point because here's this elder woman eating, um, what do you call it, herb infused rice and not knowing it, and it really put her to sleep. So I find that when we ingest herb in that way in food, I know a lot of people talk about those snacks that are infused with herb, but when you include it in tea or you include it in food, to me, it has a very adverse reaction when it comes to long term, right? So it makes you drowsy, it makes you sleepy. And I don't know if that's the effect on people who are naturally tired, but it does induce deep sleep states and deep rest. Um, so that's something to think about. For me, I no longer work with herb in that way. I work with different plants and different other herbs, but not necessarily weed because of the fact that it has the effect as if it's a drug. It is a drug, right? And if it's going to distort the thinking and distort the way we function, um, yeah, it's something to stay away from. But those are some old herb stories, all types of herbs. You name it. Another herb story that I wanted to share was one on red clover. I know someone who had some. What she said she had red clover and green tea, and it was a concoction. It was a really interesting mixture. That was a concoction, I would say. Um, but she found that she had a lot of movement, excessive movement because of red clover. Red clover is known to be a diuretic, so it is very similar in the way it works on the system. It's very similar to burdock root as well, and it's a blood cleanser. But because it works on the lymph system and it also helps with digestion. What you would find is if you had it with green tea, it would literally induce higher levels of digestion and assimilation of the nutrients and the food in your body. So you may, and again, it may not work on you in the same way, right? It may be, again, body composition actually plays a large role in the way some herbs work on our system. So those are some of the silly herb stories that I had. I find some of them funny. When I remember the experiences and the faces, um, my face and the faces of those who are around me, it just it brings back good memories. You know, I wanted to say to you all, Sister Deidre Sully will go live this evening at 6 p.m. and she will be looking at some other aspects of herb or 420, so to speak. So tune in on her YouTube channel and Deidre Sully, can you put the name of the YouTube channel that you'll be going live from so that we can all follow on, follow up. Sister Manira said, I had it as a tea once and had no idea how strong it could be. I was having waves of being high and not. It lasted about 10 hours. At one point, I had to just exclaim, I'm tired of being high. Hmm. Oh boy. And I'm sure the eyes were red. But it's, it's interesting. In that form, is very different, even as a tea. Some people do indicate that it actually increases the levels of focus, which is very different from when it's burned. And I'm not in any way having this discussion because I'm endorsing its use. I am having this discussion to, like to show and prove how herbs can affect our system in many different ways. And because, yeah, it's 420 today, everybody's on the that herb conversation. This is not me endorsing it. This is me saying it's important to take a look at um, why is it so, like I kept asking myself, why is it so important to, talk about how much of, how many healing properties it has and versus all of the other herbs that have a plethora of healing properties. So, to whose benefit, right? Who will be benefiting from all of these new laws that are being passed, right? Everyone wants to fight for it. Okay, fine, no problem. But why diminish or why not put a spotlight on all of the other plant foods and herb medicines that can be utilized for the same thing? They have some of them have the similar properties, right? But no one's exploring those, right? So I think that's something to think about. What are they pushing? Because there's always an agenda, right? So we could rejoice about some things, but those of us who are, know a little bit better and know to question, um, I have to question what is the purpose. Mhm. What is the purpose? Sister Deidre says, "Oh my, Sister Manira, yeah, 10 hours. This is that's yeah. I would be frustrated too. Is there anything that you did to actually counter the effect of it? Since that must have been very strong. Must have been very strong. But Emmanuel says that I bet you slept super hard. Yes, I'm sure she did. I am sure she did. It will put you down. It will put you down. It will put you down, or if you listen to music, it will help you deconstruct every single aspect of the music that's playing. I don't know why. It slows things down, you know. I think that's why we would always say, um, ask people if they're paro. So we would never ask, okay, are you high? It would be if you're paro. They want to program people to buy into their own oppression. I tell you, right, right, exactly. It's yeah, I always have to ask that question. What's the purpose of doing that now? What is the purpose of legalizing it now? Why? So who's benefiting? Who's benefiting? But I'm glad we got to talk about other herbs as well too, because they need love too. They need attention as well. So that was it. I am gonna close, but before I close, I wanted to also. I said I was gonna get a bit opinionated today. Mr. Manira says it was Reggie, but I was in Cali, so that's relative. I went to a Frankie Beverly and concert. Oh boy. Do you have pictures? Do you have proof? Any evidence? Destroyed, I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Yes, it is. It is slower. That's true. So before I leave, I wanted to share. There's this my opinion on something that has nothing to do with old herb stories anymore. I This is probably an old clip, but for some reason it seems to be going viral right now. And I don't want to talk about things that are viral, but I am going to because today I feel like being a little bit opinionated, right? Um, but with our new eyes, in a sense. So with new eyes, our new eyes. Right. Anyway, um, the video is of a female, right? Because I don't even know if I can say she's a mother because a mother should be protecting her youth at all times. I am not a mother, but I have a mother, and I know and I engage with many. And so this clip is of a female who steps out of a ride. I think it's like a roller coaster ride of some sort or something. And as she steps out with her little daughter's hand, holding her little daughter's hand, with her son barely exiting the ride at all, she begins to, I don't know, have some sort of conversation with a big, tall man. I guess this person was controlling the ride, and it's clear that they got into an argumentative conversation. The interaction got violent, violent to the point where, yeah, there's a man swinging at this woman and she's swinging back. The problem with that is everyone focuses is and has been focusing on the protection of the black woman. And everybody is excited and riled up around the idea that so many other people jumped in to help her and to save her. And everybody's like, okay, now, so this is how we're going to move from now on. You know, how absolutely ignorant. I'm going to be opinionated today. Absolutely out of order, no sense, no rational thinking whatsoever. No one has spoken about those two children. I haven't heard it. A matter of fact, when the man attacked her, her first instinct was not to protect her children, but to go after him. There's something wrong with that. There's something deeply, deeply wrong with that. Yeah, yeah. I don't. Sister Manira kind of says, I keep watching to see what happens to the children, but the camera panned towards the fight. Yes, it panned toward the fight, but guess what? There's something wrong with even that you pan toward the fight, but there was no instinctual desire or need to see where the youth are. Because all I think about is they could have been trampled. The little girl lost her footing and fell to the ground, right? She literally fell on her bum, right? And the mother leaves them to the side and begins to swing. And I'm not encouraging you to go see it. I'm just sharing, I'm just sharing. I'm just sharing that it is something that actually touched me, and I don't. It's touching me because I cannot understand why the focus is this is how we need to move forward to defend women. First of all, she's wrong. She should be her first instinct should be to protect her youth. She should be walking away fast, and no one else who came to her rescue decided that it was their responsibility to run to the children. And maybe, what I'm saying, Sister Manira, you're right. It because of the pan, the way the video pans, it's difficult to see if someone did run to their rescue to pick them up and move them away. And if that did happen, I want to give Jackie. I want to give credit to that, but I don't even see that. That should be the mother's first instinct. So yeah, I just wanted to let loose on that a little bit, and I really didn't. I was just talking about it. But yeah, I don't know if you do see it, but if you do, if any of you do see it, don't don't waste your time and get tied up with it. But these visuals just help to remind me um, of how much, we're being given, and how much our our eyes and our lenses are being readjusted to what actually matters. You know, Sister Manira says my exact thoughts. They definitely could have and were probably hurting the commotion. Yeah, they probably were. So I am going to close. Give thanks for joining me. See you all on Thursday again. This was much longer. If there's anything you want to share, just drop it in the chat. But I always appreciate having dialogue with you all. And I thank you for taking out a bit of your day to share space and to have that exchange. But no else, there's notice no mention of a meal protector. No, no, that's the first thing I thought was it's dark outside. Y'all getting off a roller coaster, and it's just the female and her two. There was no meal involved. Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because the only talk of the male protector is in retaliation, right? It's in retaliation to whatever confrontation occurred between her and whoever this man was. And someone did say, give a backstory. They said that whoever that man was, he was in commotion or having some kind of violent exchange with someone else. But that's all hearsay. So I don't want to talk about hearsay anymore. But that's an excellent point that there was no mention of news protector at all for the whole family. Yeah. Well, for all of them, because I don't know if family's in question. Peace, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day. And, don't forget when you close off, those of you who are observing Ramadan, when you close off, don't forget to give honor and give thanks and give praise all the time for being able to walk through and move through this day with, strength and power and motivation, and inspire someone. Whatever you got from this video, even if it was just a smile, share it with somebody. Peace and power to you all.